The first night is never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through.
Welcome back to Anthropomorphic Koala tries to beat 10-year-old mobile game with only one of its fictional character types. If you haven't seen the original video, go watch that now or else you won't have the proper contextual knowledge to truly appreciate this video. Or don't, I don't really care. All I'm here to do is continue this challenge, starting with Lost City. Let's jump into it right now. We blasted through the first few levels with Repeater. Day 4 introduced Excavator Zombies, one of two zombies that everyone was giving me a panic attack about in the comments that we'll see in this episode. The other one will show up later on. Excavator Zombie can actually be countered in a couple of ways, most notably using Split Pea. Split Pea can hit Excavator from the back just like I did to your mum. The solution was to spam a lot of Split Peas whenever Excavator showed up, until the final wave where we could let natural selection do its course. Day 5 was a conveyor level which we can skip. I already know I'm gonna get comments thinking I skipped levels or cheated, so for my sanity, please go and watch part 1 before commenting about any potential war crimes I may have committed in the making of this video. Day 6 was basically a repeat of Day 4. In Day 7 I realized 5P's plant food ability is another solid solution to excavators. Speaking of 5P, I actually misgendered her in the last video. To be honest, I don't really know how that works since it looks like a burning regular pea shooter. So does setting a plant on fire make it female? Actually, how is the 5P even alive if it really is a burning pea shooter? Oh, and Parasol Zombies. They don't really change much, do they? Day 8 and Day 9 were skippable. Day 10 continued the pea shooter split pea combo. We didn't need to place a single split pea in Day 11 because the level gave us enough plant food to scorch all of the excavators with only 5P's plant food ability. We were also introduced to bug zombies, which can somehow be hit by 5P's plant food too, despite clearly being airborne. As per our rules, we could bring sunflowers for Day 12 as well as a produce sun level, and Day 13 was a conveyor. Day 14 was a locked and loaded level. Lost City really doesn't like normal levels, does it? Day 15 was straightforward, and Day 16 was the Gargantua conveyor level. We got hard carried by lawnmowers in Day 17, before facing yet another conveyor belt in Day 18. The next two levels were simple with 5P. I knew this plant would be useful for Frostbite Caves, but I would have never expected it to be just as useful here. The combo of 5P and Split P definitely has this world under control. Day 21 and Day 22 were both locked and loaded levels. Day 23 though was very difficult, a surprising difficulty spike after a world of easier levels. This was mostly because of the new zombie, Relic Hunter. The Relic Hunter is basically a swashbuckler with more than double the health and lands further down a lawn. Yikes. This guy is super tanky, so our 5Ps and Split Ps really struggled with him. However, after a few attempts, we managed to succeed through milking the sun tiles as much as possible by placing Split Ps on them. This also allowed them to shoot back at the Relic Hunters further down the lawn. Man, Split P is so clutch for this challenge. This is how Day 24 starts. What the hell am I meant to do about that? After a few tries I managed to spam enough Split Peas to just take him down, but then everything else was too overwhelming since I blew all my sun already. Obviously this wasn't gonna work. I then rented every single pea shooter possible to absolutely no avail, but the closest plant we had was Primal Pea. I'm not joking when I say it took days of on and off grinding just to get the final wave of this level, let alone beat it. This was largely down to the two aspects of the game that we all know and love, RNG and luck. See, the Relic Hunters land on a lawn at a randomly selected tile between the columns 4 and 6. By retrying it over and over again, we got some good RNG and they landed mostly in the 6th column. A large factor that was slowing down our progress was having to re-roll the rent a plant button and watch 10 minutes of ads every time to use Primal Pea. However, I realized I could just go to Ancient Egypt Day 1 and farm the rental plant offers after beating the level to get enough seed packs to unlock him permanently. And what do you know, we beat the level quickly after doing this. And best of all, I don't have to lobotomize myself with mobile game ads again to use this guy. As for the winning a run of this level, all of our starts aligned. Good Relic Hunter RNG, good Primal P knockback RNG to keep the zombies away from the flowers, some quick thinking by placing 5Ps and Split Ps on the fly, and optimal plant food usage. And after digging up some plants for much needed sun at the end of the level, I spammed Primal and Split Ps for dear life, beating the hardest and most time-consuming level so far. Day 25 was a breeze with our newly unlocked Primal P, who actually has a secret ability. While his attacks can't damage excavators and its stun attack won't stun them, A knockback attack actually will knock them back, so while he can't take on excavators on his own, he still helps us manage them. In day 26 we used Primal P to stall the zombies until the final wave for the lawnmowers. Yes, we've gotten to this stage of the game now. I then bought garlic for $1.50, just so I could stop getting ads. Previously I just turned off Wi-Fi to stop ads, but I was preparing to live stream the challenge, so I needed Wi-Fi. I find it so funny that you can literally buy garlic for real money, that's crazy. As for day 27, the newly introduced turquoise skull zombies aren't usually that bad, but for this challenge they're brutal. They like to hide behind the excavators and wipe out our primal Ps on the last wave. This level was tough, largely due to the aforementioned final wave with a turquoise skull in every lane. For this reason I knew we had to save up all of our lawnmowers till the final wave, but this was easier said than done. I ended up saving 3 lawnmowers to the final wave, then dug up all the plants in lanes with lawnmowers and spammed primal P in the remaining lanes. I then used split P to attack the turquoise skulls from behind, where they were out of the skull range. Yes, split P is the MVP once again. Day 28 was a locked and loaded level. In day 29 we used the same strategy as day 27. Stall out the lanes with lawnmowers until the final wave, then spam everything in the lanes with no lawnmowers left. A Gargantua actually spawned in a lane with no mower, which was unlucky, but Primal P is broken against Gargantuas, so it was fine. Apart from that, Split P hard carried this level too. Not only can it hit excavators and turquoise skulls from behind, but it can also hit bug zombies from both sides without being eaten, since they fly over him to get to his repeater side, instead of eating him and never seeing his repeater side like most zombies do. So you get so much value out of him. And that's not even all, he can also hit tents from behind to stop zombies spawning without being in danger of the spawn zombies themselves. This is something I used to win day 30, in addition to lawnmower carrying as usual. I was surprised by how good Split P was in this world. He counters basically all of the zombies here. And that's a wrap for Lost City, since day 31 is a locked and loaded level and day 32 is a conveyor zomboss fight. I gotta say, this world was challenging, but developing new strategies and unique ways to play the game to overcome this challenge made it really fun, and surprisingly, very possible, largely due to this Chernobyl-ass specimen of vegetation. I had a blast playing through this world again, reaffirming its status as one of my favorite worlds in the game. Before we move on to the next world, I'm gonna do the YouTuber thing and say, did you know that only 6% of you are actually subscribed? If you know anything about anything, you know that being in the top percentage of anything is good. Did you know that the top 6% of Americans own most of the wealth? Or that the top 6% of people think they could beat a grizzly bear in a fight? I mean, I'm no scientist, but do you see the connection there? So consider hitting that subscribe button and maybe one day you'll be able to take on a grizzly bear in your $10 million mansion, while also being able to keep up to date with my latest videos and next challenge episodes. Anyway, it's for future time. 5P soloed days 1 through 4. While I was streaming day 5, shout out to you legends who are awake at 3 AM to tune in, I decided to spice things up a little and let chat decide which Peashooter I should use. And they chose Split P. We lost the first attempt because of how tanky the robo cones are. Look at this, we had more P's than the word snipper snapper and this thing still isn't dying. Utilizing power tiles more let us win though. In day 6, chat voted for me to beat the level with Only Peashooter, which wasn't actually that bad. We cleared it on the first attempt. Chat not only wanted me to beat day 7 with P-Pod, but also beat it without stacking any of the P-Pods. So yeah, I had to win with the equivalent of 125 Sun level 1 Peashooters. This was actually pretty tough and took a few attempts. With some conservative plant food usage and some lawnmower carriage though, it was possible. This lawn gives me nightmares though. Day 8 was the Gargantua conveyor fight. Day 9 was okay with Primal P, but still took a couple of attempts. At this point the shield zombies were getting super annoying, since as you can tell they block every P that comes their way, making the surrounding zombies invincible. This single-handedly costed us a few attempts, and makes what should be a fairly simple world twice as hard. Day 10 introduced Discotron, which was pretty overwhelming for our Primal Ps. But once again Split P saves the day, being able to directly attack them from behind regardless of their spawns, in a similar fashion to the importers of Lost City. Day 11 was the last stand level and chat picked this setup. What were you expecting? Surprisingly though, the Reg P setup actually did really well. Day 12 was going okay until the Discotron spawned in way too many jetpacks. By saving my plant food for the Gargantua Prime and Discotrons on our second attempt, we succeeded. Again, 5P's plant food ability carried hard, especially since it can hit zombies in the air like Bug Zombie and now Jetpack Zombie. The football mechs were introduced in day 13 and were annoying as ever, but nothing our 5Ps and power tiles couldn't handle. Day 14 was a breeze, but at the end of the level, I stupidly stupidly placed down a bunch of plants even though I'd already won as a form of oblivious celebration, causing us to exceed the sun limit. Yeah, that wasn't one of my brightest moments. Day 15 was annoying because of how slow the Citrons shoot, but possible nonetheless. The next 3 days were all gimmick levels that we could skip. Day 19 was fine, Day 20 was a sun production level, and Day 21 was the last stand level, all going by with little difficulty. Day 22 and 23 were just as easy with our favorite two Peashooters. Day 24 was a sun bombs level and really showcased how broken this minigame is. If you don't explode any suns and just collect them, you can get so much sun. Only in sun bombs is this amount of overkill possible without even using a single sun producer. And that's far future done. It feels a little anticlimactic since the second half of this world doesn't really introduce much new stuff and isn't too bad in terms of difficulty. But our next world will definitely make up for that. So, this is it. The impossible world. You see, no sun falls from the sky and we can't use sun producers. However, there are sun gravestones on the lawn that drop 100 sun upon being destroyed. Only problem is we have no Peashooters that are 75 sun or below, which is the amount we start the level with. So we have no way of getting sun. Challenge over, right? Right? Well, there is one plant we can use that can break gravestones that cost less than 75 sun. Appeasement. But Koala, appeasement isn't a pea shooter. I see where you're coming from, but when you plant appeasement, he literally shoots peas. So he is a pea shooter. From the very beginning in part 1 when I laid out the rules, I said any closely related or pea-based plant is allowed. Appeasement clearly fits this criteria since it both shoots peas, is functionally and aesthetically pea-based, and even has a P in its name. Anyway, explanations aside, Appeasement's Ps allowed us to break the first sun gravestone, which gave us enough sun to plant a Peashooter, who could also break a sun gravestone, allowing us to plant another Peashooter, and so on. And believe it or not, breaking all the sun gravestones gave us enough sun for a Peashooter in every lane, making this level very possible. Obviously this wasn't enough to take down the final wave alone, but that's what lawnmowers are for. Unbeatable level, beaten. Night 2 was much the same strategy as Night 1. The introduction of peasant bucket heads meant we had to be a lot more conservative with our plant food usage, and the final wave Peashooter digging is more important than ever with our limited sun. After feeling so proud of beating Nights 1 and 2, Night 3 was a massive shame. This one's impossible. The level has 0 sun gravestones. It's like they made this level just to mess with me. So all you can do is spam appeasements on the plant food gravestones to get plant food, to then instantly reload the appeasement, and repeat this until we lose or run out of plant food. I really wish we could have beat this one, but unfortunately it's impossible. But the run isn't over, obviously. We're only 3/4 through this video. So in the spirit of Plants vs Zombies 2 experimentation, let's keep going, shall we, and see how much of the rest of the game is possible. Night 4 was a conveyor level. Night 5 started off seemingly impossible. Surprisingly, it wasn't the newly introduced jesters that caused this, since we could just place split peas behind them to hit them, without the peas being deflected. It was actually just the sheer lack of sun and the abundance of zombies. So basically everything else about this level. I was ready to give up when I thought of Peashooters that could hit just a zombie. I then thought of Electric Peashooter, who, as it turns out, could actually hit them. The only problem is that Electric Peashooter costs 200 sun, less than ideal for a Dark Ages level where our only source of sun is gravestones. The level only has about 5 sun gravestones. We would only be able to get 2 Electric Peashooters down. There's no way we could actually... Yep, we actually did it. But that doesn't really do justice to the sheer amount of grinding and experimentation it took me to beat this level. Over a span of 2 IRL days, I slowly perfected the strategy. Here's a brief rundown. Literally as soon as the level starts, no more than a second in, instantly place an appeasement to break one of the lower sun gravestones and hope the pea shrapnel doesn't hit the gravestone in the second lane too much. I'll get to why in a second. Place a Peashooter to break the other sun gravestone in the bottom lanes. As soon as a Peashooter breaks the sun gravestone, dig it up for 50 sun refund. This gives you enough for 1 electric Peashooter. Now obviously if we only get 2 of these guys for the whole level, you want to place them in the second and fourth lanes for optimal splash damage in other lanes. Now when the top lane's basic zombie reaches about 4 tiles from the mower, place the electric pea in lane 2. Now you can see why we want the gravestone in this lane to have as much health as possible. So the electric pea can shoot at it so that the peas meant for that gravestone splash the zombie and sun gravestone above, which we need to do as much damage as possible to so it can break ASAP for 100 more sun. By now, if you were fast enough with the initial appeasement placement, it should reload, giving you just enough time to stop the bottom lane conehead. Sacrifice the middle 2 mowers, and if the top lane sun gravestone hasn't broken yet, then you might as well restart. Sacrifice more mowers and use appeasements to keep breaking sun gravestones until you can afford the second and final Peashooter. Now all lanes are covered and you just have to sit and watch the electric peas do their thing, with the occasional plant food to stop zombies getting past on the top and bottom lanes. And here comes the final wave, which is really just a test of how much plant food you've held on to, because the strategy here is to spam plant foods on the electric pea shooters and the appeasement seed packet to instantly reload it. And if you wiped out all the bucket heads except lane 2 since it has a mower, you just beat night 5 with only pea shooters. That was simple enough. I'm probably going to upload the full run on this level on my second channel, as well as some of the other tougher levels we'll face later. Day 6 was the last stand level and, well, there was no getting through that. Night 7 unfortunately suffered the same fate as Night 3. Since there are no sun gravestones, we can't plant anything except appeasements, deeming the level impossible. Night 8 was locked and loaded. Night 9 was a potion level, a gimmick I really like, even though it basically changes nothing except makes the zombies look actually scary. If you have a fear of clowns, look away now. However, this level was actually quite difficult. Essentially a repeat of Day 5 except with night zombies and potion boosts. Yay. Surprisingly though, it didn't really take me long to beat this level, since the level gives so many sun gravestones that sun isn't really that big of an issue. This gave me some wiggle room to deal with the jesters by placing and digging up split peas without the fear of running out of sun. This let us use Goo Peashooter, whose projectiles negate the potion speed boosts and hit through armor, shutting down the night zombies. That's not to say the level wasn't close though, with a similar ending to Day 5 except with a lot of desperate shoveling and replanting. Night 10 was the Gargantua conveyor battle. Night 11 introduced the dreaded wizards, which made the whole level impossible. All we could do was mower launch the first one, but after that, it was over. Night 12 was tough since the level doesn't start with sun gravestones. However, nearly halfway through, they start to spawn in. Also, they only spawn in 4 tiles or further from the pushrooms. While the pushrooms can't hit them under normal circumstances outside their 3-tile range, some of their plant food shots actually reach the 4th tile for some reason, allowing us to break the gravestones slowly for more sun with the endangered pushrooms. So our pushrooms are defenseless for a while, but that was okay, we just had to use our plant food and appeasements wisely. And then I was rudely reminded of what happens when the jesters get too close to the pushrooms. And we're not even up to the wizards yet. Yes, this level also has wizards. However, they kind of helped us out in a way, since they turn our pushrooms to sheep, making them inedible to the zombies and preserving their lifespans. I got on this run where I was so close to winning, but literally one zombie ruins the whole thing. Spending hours grinding one level just for that to happen is the worst feeling, I swear. After another IRL day of trying this level, I wish I was joking, we eventually got on another promising run and this happened. I gotta say, this level is up there with Night 5 for the contender of absolute hardest level so far, but possible nonetheless. Night 13 had a conveyor, Night 14 made us produce sun, and Night 15 was the last stand level. All pretty basic. Night 16 waits until you have no lawnmowers left to give you some sun gravestones, at which point king zombies night all the basics, before you can even get enough sun to have a pea shooter in each lane. This one is also impossible, sadly. Night 17 started out nearly perfect because, well, look at that gravestone lineup. But actually beating the level was easier said than done. This one took a few hours, most of which we spent optimizing placements in the early game to get the most sun possible to set us up for later on when wizards, kings, and even gargantuas would show up. Most of our losses were due to the kings and wizards. These levels should serve as a reminder that even though we have premiums like Electric Peashooter, this challenge is still really hard. I mean, I had to spend at least 15 hours total perfecting placements and grinding between this level, Night 12, and Night 5. Anyways, on to Night 18, which was a locked and loaded level, a welcome break from the last level. Day 19, we're not gonna talk about this one. I'm 99% sure it's impossible. At this point I was just extremely exhausted from Dark Ages, and seeing this wasn't exactly helping. And Day 20 was the Zomboss battle. Overall, Dark Ages was by far the most difficult world, and the world I poured the most time into, despite having the least amount of levels out of all of them. I'm quite impressed that only 5 levels were impossible. I, along with many of you guys, thought this world would be impossible from the very first night, but with some crafty strategies, we managed to scrape together quite a few W's. The first few days went exactly how you'd expect the first few levels of a world to go, except Dark Ages, which I was truly relieved to be done with. By the way, if the frame rate is looking really dicey, it's not your device, it's because I streamed these early levels and my internet was not having it. Day 4 saw a ramp up in difficulty. It took many attempts as the speediness of the zombies when the punk music played became apparent. However, Peashooter clutched up again since I found out its poison effect also negates this speed boost, much like it does to the potion boosted zombies in Dark Ages. Day 5 was extremely difficult in the 1 seed slot challenge, so I was prepared for the worst. But surprisingly, we won first try with Goopy. He's just that good. Day 6 was a conveyor, day 7 and 8 were just more Goopy spam. Day 9 was a locked and loaded level. Day 10 was another conveyor, and day 11 was a locked and loaded level again. In case you couldn't tell, we're back to the post-2014 worlds which love their gimmick levels. Days 12 and 13 were straightforward with Goopy. Day 14 was a locked and loaded level. Well, it's not really a level, it's more like an advertisement for Cactus. Days 15 through 20 were all either Goopy spam or conveyor belt levels. Day 21 turned out to be not as easy though. Gargantua's flower lines and breakdances are a pretty gnarly combo. I eventually found that the best solution was to use Moa Launch on the first Gargantua and spam appeasement boosted Primal Peas on the second Gargantua, saving my plant food for the pesky breakdancers along the way. Day 22 was another conveyor level. Day 23's arcade zombies were a bit troubling for Goopy, whose damage output can't handle the arcade machines which are immune to poison. However, our old friend Electric Peashooter came in handy because their shots can strike through all the 8-bit zombies, arcade machines, and arcade zombies themselves. But Electric Peashooter doesn't do enough damage to deal with tankier zombies, so we have to use a combination of both Peashooter and Electric Peashooter. This strategy was super satisfying. Days 24 to 27 were all dominated by our new combo or were conveyor write-offs. Day 28 was more of a struggle. The boombox zombies became really annoying because of how many there were. In a normal run of the game, these guys are barely noticeable since you can just spam instants on them before they play their music. But in this run, we obviously can't do that. This causes the boomboxes to shut down any and all of our plants. However, with enough retries, we managed to win. It was very, very close though. Literally 3 Goopies and 2 Electric Peas were all it took to beat the whole of day 29, full of arcades, gargantuas, and breakdances. I think that this is the best combo for this challenge. By day 30, the devs really started to fall in love with gargantuas. But it's okay, we have lawnmowers and 2 overpowered Peashooters. Actually, make that 3. And that's it. Day 31 was a locked and loaded level, and day 32 is the Zomboss conveyor. I can't believe it, but the whole of Neon Mixtape Tour was possible. In the next episode, we'll take on the rest of the game. Jurassic Marsh, Big Wave Beach, and Modern Day. It'll be one hell of a finale, so make sure you don't miss it.